Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. Twananish's has lived most of her career under the glare of the stopwatch, defined by the fractions of seconds that separate winners from the field. An Olympic gold medalist in the 4x100 meter relay at Paris 2024, a two-time World Championships relay champion and once the joint fourth fastest under 20 woman in history at 10.99 seconds, Terry built her reputation on steady progression rather than overnight miracles. The latest conversation around her, however, is less about the times on the board and more about accusations that have circulated beyond the lanes. The shadow has extended to her coach as well, Dennis Mitchell, who has guided athletes to global medals for more than a decade, is no stranger to scrutiny. His record includes leading the 2016 Olympic relay team to gold, overseeing multiple successful world relay squads, and coaching Sha'Carri Richardson through her 2023 triple medal campaign at the World Championships. His credibility in athletics is well established. Yet, recent suspicions directed at him and his training group have stirred debate, with suspensions elsewhere in the sport heightening sensitivities, particularly the news about Fred Kerley's suspension. Those running exceptional marks are often spoken about with suspicion, regardless of their testing history. Is this environment that drew a sharp response from Terry this week? In a direct statement shared on her official X account, she declared, "Everybody is going to have their opinions because it's sports and that's fine. However, what y'all are not going to do is accuse me of using any type of substance. Injuries and stuff happen in sports." Her frustration was evident, but her words also underlined a deeper point about the fairness of competing while constantly facing public suspicion. She reminded her critics of her history of clean performances, saying she had been in the testing pool since college and had nothing negative attached to me. The accusations, she argued, ignore the reality of her progression. Who would be using a substance to run 10.8? Please, find somebody to play with like I wasn't a consistent 10.9 runner as a freshman and ran 10.8 in college, my first year, professional, and so on. By laying out her times across years, Terry attempted to ground her defense in facts. She acknowledged that ignoring stray remarks is sometimes possible, but she drew a line at being accused of doping. Y'all, it's one thing about ignoring comments, which I can do, but accusing somebody of doping is not cool at all. For Terry, the matter is about dignity as much as sport. She emphasized that she has so many hobbies/talents outside of track and would sooner walk away than compromise her integrity for performance. Her voice joins a chorus of athletes unsettled by the climate of suspicion following high-profile suspensions. In defending both her career and her reputation, Terry sought to remind her audience that her story was written long before the current uproar and that the clock has always been her judge, not rumors. However, this is not the first time that the coach's name is being entangled into the subject of doping. Back in 2017, Justin Gatlin dismissed Dennis Mitchell after his coach was implicated in a doping probe. How almost a decade ago, Justin Gatlin cut ties with Coach Dennis Mitchell over a doping scandal. Justin Gatlin parted ways with his longtime coach, Dennis Mitchell, after Mitchell became embroiled in a high-profile doping investigation back in 2017. The then reigning world champion over 100 meters acted swiftly after London's The Telegraph published the results of an undercover inquiry in which Mitchell and sports agent Robert Wagner were recorded discussing performance-enhancing substances with individuals posing as film producers. The incident cast an immediate shadow over Gatlin's training environment and prompted him to announce Mitchell's dismissal. In a pointed Message posted on Instagram. Gatlin sought to draw a firm boundary between himself and the controversy. "I am not using and have not used PEDs," he wrote, adding that he was shocked and surprised to learn that my coach would have anything to do with even the appearance of these current accusations. He even explained that he had fired him as soon as I found out about this, while also making clear that legal steps were under consideration. "All legal options are on the table, as I will not allow others to lie about me like this." The sprinter closed by thanking his supporters and declaring that the matter would next be addressed through his lawyer. The Telegraph's recordings depicted Mitchell and Wagner in discussions about methods of obtaining testosterone and human growth hormone for athletes, while also outlining strategies to evade detection. Wagner went so far as to claim, "You think Justin is not doing this? Do you think Dennis Mitchell wasn't doing this? Everybody does it." Although Justin Gatlin himself has categorically rejected these allegations, the fallout has been immediate and severe. By severing ties with Mitchell, Gatlin signaled his determination to protect his career and distance himself from a scandal that threatens to destabilize the sport once again. The world of track and field has long carried the weight of suspicion when it comes to doping. Every season, headlines shift from records and milestones to scandals and investigations threatening to overshadow the athletes who work tirelessly within the rules. This week, the spotlight has once again swung toward controversy, this time involving a name closely tied to Sha'Carri Richardson, America's most polarizing sprint star. Her training partner, whose meteoric rise had drawn comparisons to sprinting greats, now finds themselves under fire, accused of doping in a report that has quickly spread across social media. The athlete delivered a strikingly aggressive admission that left fans and critics equally stunned. Stuff happened in sports. It was not the carefully polished statement of denial or the meticulously worded plea for patience that many expected. Instead, it was raw, blunt, and defiant. An acknowledgement of the chaotic, messy underbelly of elite competition. A storm too close to home for Sha'Carri Richardson. The development cuts deeply. The 24-year-old sprinter has worked tirelessly to rebuild her career after her own controversial suspension in 2021 for marijuana use, a moment that robbed her of an Olympic debut in Tokyo and thrust her into the global spotlight for reasons swirling around someone in her immediate training circle. Risks reopening wounds she has fought to heal. Questions are flying. Does this reflect poorly on her camp? Could it disrupt her preparation for the World Championships? And most importantly, will the public unfairly conflate her name with the accusations levied at her partner? Richardson has not spoken publicly about the matter, but insiders note that she has been laser-focused on maintaining her integrity and ensuring that her comeback story remains untarnished. Still, the shadows cast by proximity are difficult to ignore. The aggressive admission, when confronted with the allegations, her training partner's response shocked the media. Rather than offering a measured denial or professing innocence, the athlete shrugged off the weight of the scandal with 6 simple words. Stuff happened in sports. The phrase carried an undertone that was at once combative and weary. It was as though the athlete was saying, "This is the reality of high-stakes competition. Sometimes lines are blurred, sometimes mistakes are made, and sometimes the system itself is flawed." The bluntness resonated with some who saw it as an honest reflection of the imperfections in athletics. Others, however, interpreted it as an implicit admission of guilt or at the very least a lack of respect for the seriousness of doping charges. For governing bodies like World Athletics and USADA, such remarks only complicate the narrative. Athletes are expected to present clear positions, either unequivocal denial or full confession. Anything in between fuels confusion, speculation, and mistrust. A sport haunted by its past, track and field has suffered immensely from the shadow of doping. From Ben Johnson's infamous 1988 downfall to Marion Jones' shocking confession and the sweeping Russian doping scandal, the sport's credibility has been tested time and again. Every new accusation drags fans back into the same weary cycle of excitement, suspicion, disappointment, and skepticism. The recent rise of sprint stars like Richardson, Noah Lyles, and Sharika Jackson had given the sport a much-needed sense of rejuvenation, speed, style, and personality, attracting new audiences worldwide. But scandals, even those unproven, risk derailing this momentum. And when the accused is linked to someone as visible and polarizing as Richardson, the ripple effects are magnified tenfold. The human side of the scandal. Behind the headlines lies the undeniable human toll. The accused athlete has not only been forced to defend their reputation, but has also had their relationships, training, environment, and future income thrown into question. Sponsors, ever wary of public perception, tend to distance themselves swiftly when doping clouds appear. In an emotional moment, the athlete reportedly told teammates, "You work your whole life for seconds on a clock. One accusation and people erase everything you did." This sentiment underscores the fragile nature of trust in elite sports. In an environment where fractions of a second determine destiny, any edge, legal or illegal, becomes the subject of scrutiny. Even those who are innocent often find their careers permanently scarred by association. Sha'Carri Richardson's tightrope. For Sha, the scandal is both a test and a crossroads. She has spent the past 2 seasons proving that her talent is undeniable and her resilience unmatched. From claiming world titles to clocking personal bests, she has made clear that her name belongs in the conversation of sprinting elite. But the reality is cruel. The public's perception often cares less about facts than about associations. Already, chatter on social media has attempted to draw her into the controversy, suggesting guilt by proximity. Richardson has always been outspoken, unafraid to call out critics and speak her truth. Yet this may be one of the few times where silence could be her most powerful weapon. By staying focused, letting her performances speak louder than the noise, she can reinforce the narrative she has fought to reclaim, that she is a clean, dominant, and resilient champion. The bigger picture. Why stuff happen resonates. The training partner's comment, while abrasive, shines a spotlight on a deeper truth about elite athletics. The relentless pressure to succeed often drives athletes to the edge. The demands of sponsorships, national pride, and personal ambition create an environment where mistakes or temptations are amplified. Stuff happen in sports could be read as a cynical dismissal, but it could also be viewed as an admission that the system itself is flawed. Testing protocols, uneven global standards, and the ever-evolving science of performance enhancement create gray areas that athletes must navigate daily. This is not to excuse wrongdoing, but it does highlight why doping scandals continue to emerge despite decades of crackdowns. The hunger for greatness is eternal, and the fine line between innovation and violation is often razor thin. Fans react frustration and fatigue. Public reaction has been mixed, but intense. On one side are fans who feel betrayed yet again, weary of watching heroes fall from grace. On the other are those who sympathize, arguing that athletes are being crushed under unrealistic expectations and flawed systems. Another doping scandal. Why even bother watching anymore? Wrote one frustrated fan online. Meanwhile, others defended the athlete's candid words, At least they're not hiding behind fake apologies. Sports aren't clean and everyone knows it. This divide mirrors the broader cultural struggle. Fans crave both authenticity and integrity, but rarely do the two coexist comfortably in high-stakes competition. Conclusion: a sport at a crossroads. The doping accusation against Sha'Carri Richardson's training partner is more than just an isolated scandal. It is a reminder of the fragile credibility of track and field, the fine line athletes must walk, and the ever-present tension between ambition and ethics. The aggressive admission stuff happen in sports will linger long after the details of the case fade. It captures the uneasy truth about modern athletics. That glory is pursued in a world where suspicion is constant, trust is fragile, and mistakes, whether real or alleged, can change everything. For Richardson, the challenge is to remain untouched by the storm, to continue sprinting forward, while the world debates the actions of. In the shimmering world of track and field, where milliseconds define legends and the line between triumph and disgrace is razor-thin, few names have burned as brightly and controversially as Sha'Carri Richardson's. But just when the dust seemed to settle after her past suspension for marijuana use, the world was rocked again. This time, not by Richardson herself, but by someone even closer. In an unexpected twist that reads more like a Hollywood script than a sporting headline, Richardson's longtime romantic partner and former coach, Jordan J. McCall, dropped a bombshell confession during a live podcast interview that aired just last night. And now the world is asking, how deep does this rabbit hole go? The interview that shook the sports world. The confession came during the latest episode of the wildly popular podcast Off Track, hosted by former Olympic sprinter and whistleblower Darren Cole. The episode, originally set to focus on mental health and performance pressure, took a sharp turn when Jay McCall, appearing composed but visibly tense, made a shocking statement mid-conversation. "I can't keep carrying this weight anymore. I was part of it. I helped cover up more than just marijuana, and she didn't act alone." The studio went silent. Cole's eyes widened. Listeners around the world froze. Performance enhancers were involved. Not regularly. Not like some of those programs in the past. Jay continued. But they were there. And I helped facilitate it.